A teenage girl has been killed in a Russian attack on the Ukrainian town of Nikopol.
Draghi puts forward proposals to counter Europe's rapid decline. If accepted, the cost will be 800 billion euros of investment annually.
Russian troops fired at least a dozen artillery shells at the town of Nikopol in Dnipro Oblast on Monday morning, killing a 16-year-old girl. 2 men and 1 woman were also injured in the attack, according to the town's governor. Meanwhile, Ukraine's Air Force claims to have downed 6 out of 8 drones launched by Russia overnight, along with 2 Russian cruise missiles. It comes as Ukraine says Russian attacks on its territory over the past day have killed at least 7 people and injured scores more. Russia's Ministry of Defense has released footage of what it claims shows Russian aviation crews carrying out airstrikes on Ukrainian armed forces in the Kursk region. Meanwhile, China's state news agency reports Russian naval and air forces will take part in a joint exercise with China in the Sea of Japan and the Sea of Okhotsk later this month.
Former Italian Prime Minister and President of the European Central Bank, Mario Draghi, presented his report on the future of European competitiveness on Monday. The report has 170 proposals to increase productivity, enhance security and reduce dependencies while keeping the European social model intact. Draghi's initiative comes at a crucial moment for the future of Europe. The EU is losing ground as each passing year it becomes less able to compete with China and the United States in global trade arena.
It's going to be a slow agony. We're becoming, and think about the fact population is declining, and by 2040, 2 million workers a year will disappear from the labor market. So we're going to be a society that basically shrinks.
Draghi calls for a minimum of 750 to 800 billion euro additional investment per year. This means increasing the EU's investment share to around 27% of EU gross domestic product. To achieve this goal, the European Union would have to issue common debt instruments one more time, as it was done for the recovery of post-pandemic known as the Plan Next Generation EU, which was also a 800 billion euro model.
And the big question is there need of safe common assets? Yes, the answer is yes.
While the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen seems open to the idea, some EU governments are likely to oppose it, making it very difficult to achieve. Overall, the suggested amount is twice the size of what Europe spent after the Second World War to rebuild.
I think it's not very likely at the moment. We do not have a German coalition government that is in the position to make any progress or any moves in that direction. They are politically very divided, and the opposition is also against it. And we do not have a clear French political landscape that would help to build trust. So at the end of the day, joint borrowing really only works when you have more trust among member states, which we don't.
Draghi's report, which helps defining tasks for the next commissioners, also encourages boosting the European defense industry, research in innovative technologies and decarbonization. According to Draghi, without action, Europe will have to either compromise its welfare, or its environment, or its freedom.
A massive distortion in the electricity market between the southeast and west of Europe means energy prices are significantly more expensive in the Balkans. This was stressed by the Greek Prime Minister during a press conference, who said he would be raising the issue with the European Commission.
Έναν οδικό χάρτη, οι Έλληνες πολίτες θα μπορούν να προσβλέπουν σε μια πολύ καλύτερη ζωή. Τις επόμενες μέρες θα αναδείξω το ζήτημα αυτό με μια επιστολή την οποία θα στείλω στην πρόεδρο της Ευρωπαϊκής Επιτροπής, την κυρία Βαν ντερ Λάιεν, εξηγώντας ακριβώς το τι έγινε όχι μόνο στην Ελλάδα, στη Βουλγαρία, στη Ρουμανία, στην Ουγγαρία και πώς γίνεται να υπάρχουν ώρες της ημέρας όπου η οριακή τιμή του συστήματος να είναι 10 φορές ακριβότερη στα Βαλκάνια από ότι είναι στην Αυστρία ή στην Τσεχία. Κάτι δεν δουλεύει καλά. Δεν δουλεύει καλά στο ευρωπαϊκό μοντέλο. Δεν αναμένω ότι θα υπάρχουν άμεσες λύσεις στο πρόβλημα αυτό, αλλά τουλάχιστον ας ασχοληθεί κάποιος σοβαρά να το αναδείξουμε, ώστε να φροντίσουμε να μην έχουμε τέτοιες τρευλώσεις ξανά στο μέλλον.
Mitsotakis admitted that the single energy market has not worked in recent months. and that these distortions did not exist until last May. He also explained how Greece is currently exporting energy to Ukraine while they historically imported it.
Αυτό τραβάει ενέργεια από το σύστημα, ανεβάζει τις τιμές. Δεν θα πληρώσει όμως ο Έλληνας καταναλωτής τις τρευλώσεις ενός ευρωπαϊκού μοντέλου.
The Greek Prime Minister stressed that in the short term what his government has done and will continue to do so is impose taxes and fees on producers making what he described as sky-high profits. He noted that while the electricity producers are not doing anything illegal, they are exploiting a distortion in the system and set out plans to return these profits to the consumers.
Germany's Chancellor Olaf Scholz has said that he and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky agree that Russia should be included in a future peace conference aimed at ending the war in Ukraine. Scholz also called for increased efforts to solve the conflict.
Es wird auf alle Fälle eine weitere Friedenskonferenz geben und der Präsident und ich sind einig, dass es auch eine sein muss mit Russland dabei.
A previous international peace conference in Switzerland in June ended with 78 countries expressing support for Ukraine's territorial integrity, but otherwise leaving the path forward unclear. Russia didn't participate in those talks. Meanwhile, Zelensky has said he's thankful for the support he received at the Ukraine Defense Contact Group meeting in Ramstein on Friday. At that meeting, US Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said the Biden administration would announce another $250 million military aid package. The UK said it would send 650 air defense missiles, while Germany pledged a further 12 self-propelled howitzers.
Дякую всім, хто працює та воює заради України, заради наших людей та наших інтересів, інтересів нашої держави, української держави. Кожен день, кожен тиждень мають робити Україну сильніше.
And on the battlefield, fierce fighting continues near the town of Pokrovsk. More than 20,000 inhabitants remain in the city despite Ukrainian authorities continuing to evacuate the strategically important town.
The EU's diplomatic service has strongly condemned Russia's municipal elections held in occupied Crimean territory, stating the vote violates international law, the UN Charter and Ukraine's sovereignty. The EU does not recognise these so-called elections or their results in Crimea, the European Union External Action Service said in a statement on Monday. They are null and void and cannot produce any legal effects whatsoever. 83 elections spanning regional to municipal were held throughout Russia from September 6th to 9th. Areas included the Ukrainian-controlled region of Kursk in Russia, which saw the country's third highest percentage of voter turnout. The results, strongly expected to tilt towards Moscow-approved candidates, are slated to roll in by the end of September.
Around 200 striking employees have gathered outside Audi's manufacturing site in Brussels to protest against potential job cuts as the plant is threatened with closure. The blockade on the site's entrance began on Sunday evening and has continued into Monday, as unions claim management is seeking direct confrontation with workers.
Apparemment, la direction aurait dit aux travailleurs, ou du moins par un communiqué, qu'à partir de demain, les travailleurs seront plus payés. Et donc là, évidemment, les gens ont des responsabilités à tenir au niveau de leur salaire. Et si la direction ne fait pas marche arrière, ou du moins si elle ne se remet pas à table pour discuter des salaires des travailleurs, je pense que les travailleurs vont rester ici jusqu'à la fin.
The strike comes after management announced early on Sunday evening that it would keep the plant closed until workers agreed to resume production normally and ship cars to dealers. Tensions were raised further after Audi threatened legal action after 200 vehicle keys were taken by workers as part of the demonstrations. Barcelona has become the global epicenter of sailing, and during the months of September and October, the Mediterranean city hosts the America's Cup tournament, which is considered the pinnacle of international regattas.
Barcelona es la única ciudad del mundo que ha acogido 3 de los grandes eventos deportivos, un Mundial de Fútbol, los Juegos Olímpicos y ahora la 37ª edición de la Copa América de Vela.
This year's tournament has many new features.
Primera vez que esta competición primero se puede ver desde la playa y esto es gracias al litoral en Barcelona que gana profundidad muy rápido y se ha podido acercar mucho, pero es gratuita y abierta a todo el mundo.
Many watched the tournaments from the water.
We've seen the races of America's Cup and it's really nice organized. It's the first time. It's very exciting.
For the first time in history, a women's team is competing in the America's Cup, marking a significant milestone after 173 years of competition. According to the organisers, the tournament is also expected to generate 1.1 billion euros in direct and indirect income.
Este impacto que vamos a recibir es el resultado de multiplicar por 6 la inversión pública inicial y por lo tanto es un multiplicativo muy alto.
Barcelona also hopes the tournament will leave a long-term legacy in the fields of culture, education, sustainability and innovation.
Hemos hecho un proyecto con astilleros catalanes que han hecho por primera vez en Cataluña una serie de embarcaciones eléctricas fabricadas, diseñadas, construidas en Cataluña. Están saliendo cada día, hoy también van a salir a ver las regatas de hoy. Esto nos ayuda a configurar un hub industrial en Cataluña que demuestre que la descarbonización de la náutica es posible.
However, not everyone in the city believes that the event will have a positive and meaningful impact on residents. Several groups have repeatedly protested against the privatisation of public spaces for an event they describe as elitist.